either virtual or real, if you would love to learn a snazzy, easy new way of adding to your income and building your business as a coach, give me a wave or a virtual thumbs up or anything like that at all. Wonderful. Lots of you waving to me, lots of virtual hands up as well, which is good news, really, because today's session is going to be focusing on that. We're going to be sharing some information with you today about how to do just that. Lots of ideas, lots of tips, because our guest is fantastic, very close to my own heart. He was my very first coach. As a trainee coach, I decided that I wanted to experience what it would be like to be coached by a professional accredited coach. So I stumbled across this amazing person that you're going to be speaking to today. And it's lovely that our paths have crossed on a number of occasions, but then we ended up both being part of the Coaching Academy, which is amazing. But our guest today started his journey as a professional coach back in 2003. And he's been a member of the Coaching Academy training team and family since 2007. Now, the wonderful Mike Blissett is a presentation skills coach, that's his niche, a trainer, a professional speaker. He's a member of the Professional Speakers Association. And in his sessions, he trains people to speak with more confidence. And also he trains people to have an approach that inspires others to, or inspires people to deliver more engaging and impactful presentations, both online and in person. And here at the Coaching Academy, Mike, as I say, is a member of the core team. He's been delivering our training, as I say, since he got involved in 2007. Now he delivers the Introduction to Life Coaching webinar. Now, some of you may well have been on his webinar when you were first discovering whether coaching was for you or not. But he also delivers on our Small Business Diploma and also on the very topic that we're going to be talking about today. So without further ado, I am going to introduce you to the wonderful Mike Blissett. Mike, welcome today. Really excited to have you with us. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Gosh, what an introduction. Yes, I have been coaching that long. So, yeah, very happy to be here. Very happy to see so many smiley faces. Some of them I recognize, which is brilliant. And it's lovely to see you again, Sharon.
Oh, wonderful. Well, as I say, it's true. As you know, you have a very special place in my heart. And when I won the Coaching Academy Coaching Awards back in 2015, you were there. And it was so lovely that we could sort of do that sort of full circle. So it's lovely to have you here today as well. Now, Mike, I'm really excited about today's session. We've spoken about this topic on many occasions. But I know that you've been really successful yourself in adding online programs to your coaching business. So I know that there's so much that we can learn from you today. But before we dive into that topic, I've sort of shared, sort of how long and how much experience you've had in the coaching industry. So do you mind, because I have a real sort of passion around people sharing their stories, because I think it's, it is about the story of the person is the center to who we are. So can you just start with telling us a little bit about your journey to become a coach and your inspiration for doing so?
Oh gosh, yes. Okay. Probably the edited version is that a long time ago, when I started speaking with a stutter, a stammer, a really bad one. I couldn't say my name until I was in my mid-20s, about 27, 28. So for me, growing up, things like confidence was very low. And so speaking and communication were a big deal for me. So those have been kind of threads that I run through my life. One of the ways I finally overcame the stammer was I just happened to like singing. I was reasonably good at it, and it was the only time I didn't stutter. So I joined a local band where I'm from in the north of England. And even though we didn't stay together too long, it began a journey that took about 20 years of being a professional singer, a semi-professional singer in shows in different bands, etc. And the more I did that, the more finally my confidence started to raise. And as that happened, so my stammer fell away. So I didn't do any speech therapy. I don't know how to not stutter, or to show somebody else how to not stutter, except maybe to learn to sing or play the guitar. So what that gave me along the way was how to be on stage, how to be in front of audiences, different audiences, how to connect with audiences. So fast forward through a kind of semi-corporate career in banking. Finally, I'm at the introductory event in 2003 and began my journey with coaching. And so looking for my niche, I hadn't got a clue what niche I wanted to have, except I wanted to leave the bank and knew that wasn't my thing. And so people reflected back to me, my coaching buddies and the coaching team at the academy, that when I was reflecting on having a practice coaching session where somebody had an interview or a presentation, or they needed to speak up at work coming up, and they were really nervous about that, I kind of lit up. And I would just say, okay, so that was a lucky session. That was it's just one of those sessions. But the team kept reflecting this back to me. And so long story short, that's kind of where I found my niche. So when I started to say I help people speak with more confidence, make a bigger impact, and grow the business online with video, my business changed. It completely blew up. That's, I don't know, 17, 18 years ago, and it hasn't kind of come down again yet. And so that's kind of where I found my niche. Now, back in the day when I started training with the academy, it was a hybrid training as it is today, but it looked different in that there was the live training. There was also, I know nobody on the call remembers this, but there were actually things called tape cassettes. I won't ask for show of hands, but I'm sure maybe you've heard about this in the history books. But there were tape cassettes, and part of the course was on tape cassettes, which is an old school version of doing a version of this distance learning thing. Through the years, of course, they transferred to CD and then DVD, and now we're streaming online. And so I've always been interested in and taking part in courses, in other people's courses. And as I wanted to find out how they did them, because they really resonated with me, I started to understand how online courses work. And then through the last 5 years, of course, which has been quite a journey, I think, for all of us, of course, the online courses that I built really helped me through, especially the initial days when suddenly my whole diary opened up. And so, yeah, so that's where I am today. That's how I arrived with online courses.
Fantastic. Well, first of all, I can see your guitar in the background there. So not that far away. The music's not that far away from you, which is fantastic. And music, it's really powerful, isn't it? It can take us to places. It can change our mood. And for you, it's been instrumental in your journey as well, which I think is absolutely fascinating. And looking at the chat box, it looks like there's a couple of people who certainly remember tape cassettes, and also actually somebody who did some training with the Coaching Academy at a very similar time to you as well, which is wonderful. It's that's the thing for me, I think, at the Coaching Academy, that sort of real family and community. The alumni is still really, really strong. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that story. I think it's our stories that really anchor us into our North Star and our why, and makes us authentic. Now, I know, Mike, that one of the things that you've told me in the past is that you've enjoyed developing online courses because they've allowed you to work on your business rather than just in your business. Now, we hear people talk about this a lot, that whole sort of, oh yeah, make sure you're working, sort of in, not, sort of on, not in your business, etc., etc. Do you mind just expanding on that a little bit more, please? Because you're so great at just sort of making things accessible, and so many times we hear things like this, and there's an assumption that everybody knows what we mean.
Sure. When I decided, it was about 2016, that I actually wanted to build an online course. And whilst that was the kind of eureka moment, closely behind it was that, oh my gosh, what can it be about? A bit like when I started coaching, I thought, this is so me. I so want to work with people. I so want to help people. And it was a similar kind of moment. And then I'm thinking about, what on earth can I, work with them on? And that was niching. That was where I started looking at niching. And so the same with courses. I couldn't create a course about just general personal developments. Well, maybe I could, but then again, how would you promote that? And that, with online courses, you do have to promote it. And so it causes you to kind of step away and think, okay, so what do I do? What could be an online version of what I do? And how could this show up? How could it stand on its own legs without me possibly needing to be there running it all the time? And so I worked with a mastermind group and also a couple of mentors through the months, kind of kicking and screaming, saying, no, I couldn't do that. And that's not me. And no, and all the kind of natural kind of insecurities came out. And finally started to basically run a beta program. So I offered some coaching with a small group of people. There were 8 of us, so 7 and 8 with me included. And we worked together over a period of 3 months. And I would just, each time I would show them a model or a framework or ask them a question and begin a conversation, and they just see where it went. And they knew that they were helping me to develop my course, to develop or find my thing. And it just helped me to see what they were looking for rather than what I thought they were looking for. And all I can say, they were light bulb moments, because some of the things that showed up in those conversations, boy, oh boy, I would never have thought of that in a million years. And they were the things that lit people up. So of course, when I came to actually sit down and plan the course and record it, they were included, but they never would have been included if I'd have just thought, okay, I want to record this course on this thing, and spent 3 or 6 months doing it, and then realizing nobody actually, didn't resonate with anybody, nobody wanted to buy it. So working with people really helped me to work on the business rather than in it.
Fantastic. I love that. Because it makes it sound like that it wasn't something that was. It seemed like the sort of natural next step for you. But is it possible to really make a success of it still today? Are online courses and coaching programs still a thing?
They are. I think they've evolved, which is a great thing. One of the ways I describe this whole idea of personal business development and coaching, it's a bit like a universe, in that there's been the Big Bang, but like the universe, it's not just sitting there, it's done, it's finished now. It's still expanding and exploding, and new stars are being born all the time. And the same with coaching, and the same with online courses. They've been around for a good few years now. They used to be on tape cassette, and then they were on DVD and CD. Now they're streaming. But I think where it's kind of expanding is that still online courses can just stand on their own legs. They can just be something that sits alongside what you do, and people can, do them, by themselves. But I think where it's expanding is probably where it's moving into the hybrid approach, where you can combine a coaching program. So there can be some live elements, some group elements, maybe some one-on-one elements that are more interactive, that run alongside the online course as well. So you can have cohorts. They can be just kind of running all the time, with people joining at different times, and learning from each other, as well as from you and the material that might also have been kind of filmed or recorded as well. So I think that's where it's expanded.
Yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? Because for me, it sort of sounds like what you're saying is that, by taking a little bit of time and thought to add an online business, or an online course, or an online sort of coaching program to your business, your coaching business, it sort of gives things like it gives your business a bit more definition, or a bit more focus, or it's a bit of an additional vehicle for enabling clients to work with you as a coach. Have you found that to be true in your own business?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all the time. So I think there are different levels of uh, um, kind of success or interaction that an online course has. So of course, there's the immediate one where somebody signs up and they hopefully pay for it if it's a sold course, and that's the immediate effect. And then, of course, some people want to go on and work with you individually, or maybe join a group program. And then, just to give you an example, last year in, I don't know, August, September time, somebody contacted me who had done the program by themselves. I didn't know them, but they'd done the program and they got in touch and they said, really loved your program, liked your videos, and we're working for this business, and we wondered if you can do a live version of it. So come into the office and do the program, or do a version of the program live for us, tailored for us. And so that's turned into a really huge piece of work that's actually been extended, and now we're into the second year here. And this is an international company. They're in Shanghai, they're in Milan, New York, etc. And boy, oh boy, this came out of somebody having done the program that I didn't even, they didn't message or comment or email to me during the program. They were just doing the program themselves, and then later got in touch. So there are, having an online program can extend your reach of people that you can make a difference for.
Fantastic. So what you're saying is that it's almost like an earn while you sleep thing. So you got this coaching program or this course that you pre-recorded, and it's there, and people can access it, do it in their own time. And then for you, that actually resulted in somebody contacting you and saying, hey, love it, could you come and do something similar to us in person?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was, and then when you start, it's the same with coaching. When you find your niche, when you find your flow, when you're in flow, when you're doing what you're meant to be doing. And I don't know the folks on this call, but I personally believe when you're doing your thing, when you're doing the thing you're supposed to be doing, when you're in your flow, the universe has a habit of offering extra opportunities along the way. What we need to do is notice them. Now, whether they're there all the time, and we don't usually because we're too busy, or maybe when we're in our flow, we do notice them. And I found that with the online courses, there are those additional opportunities that come along the way, whether you're invited to speak on the radio or TV, or go into organizations or speak at events or conferences. I mean, you don't have to do this, but when you get known for a thing, for an online course, for your niche, it kind of sets you apart, and that takes you on a journey as well, which is it's just really cool. I mean, it's just a great way, just to be able to live your life and be paid for doing what you love to do anyway. It's great. I was delivering a talk at an event a few years ago. I think it was before the pandemic, and the person before me said, "This is about basically having an online course is where you can build up this passive stream of income." And that word passive doesn't work for me, because passive for me means that you don't put any effort in at all, and somehow people send you money. And building an online course and adding value and showing up and being the best version of who you can be as a coach, it takes work, it takes effort. It's the last thing it is passive. It might be automated, it might be recorded, but boy, oh boy, did you have to show up to create that value. And so, yeah.
I love that. I love that. It might be automated, but it's not passive. That sort of passive, that word feels heavy to me. I don't know. But, sort of, you're in flow, you've pre-recorded it, it's automated, and you have that additional revenue income stream that, as I say, fits along that lovely saying around earning while you sleep. I've heard that, and I've also seen that there are sort of different types of online courses and programs, and I guess there are some that you can pay for and some that are free. But, could you give us a few sort of tips and share some sort of thoughts around that?
Yeah, sure. And just before I do that, the very first time I had the experience of this whole kind of money while you sleep, well, I wasn't actually asleep. I was awake. I was having Christmas lunch around the table in whatever it was years ago, and somebody bought my ebook in I think it was Brazil, and I had one of those pings on my phone from PayPal saying you have funds. And somebody in Brazil had bought my ebook. And that was the very first experience with money while you sleep. I wasn't asleep. I was having Christmas lunch, but that's a nice feeling, because then, of course, they get the value of whatever you put into the course. So different kind of courses. Yes, there is the traditional, you create a course, you film a bunch of videos, and it goes out weekly or twice monthly or whatever your schedule is. So that's all automated. But then, of course, as we mentioned a few moments ago, how courses show up and how they are has evolved and changed. So there is still that. Then, of course, you can use your course to, for example, sit within your coaching program. So if you have an online course, maybe a module. So a module for me is 3 videos. So the first video is an intro video, and then 2 videos of content go out every 2 weeks. So the other weeks, you can coach either individually or maybe run a group coaching program. So your folks get the exercises, the models, whatever it is that you have recorded one week, and then the following week, and there's a group call or an individual call, and it's a coaching session, whatever they bring to that session. And then equally the following week, they get another module. So this is the hybrid approach. Then, of course, there is, I was going to call it a 7-day challenge. It's a challenge. So these are mini videos where they can go out over 7 days, 5 days, 30 days. There's no magic number here. It's whatever works for you. The very first time I did this is that I wanted to create a new course, and I couldn't, because basically I'm still Mike. I still can't figure things out. I still can't decide what I want this next course to be about. So one of my friends in my mastermind group said, well, you've got all those outtakes from the original course. And there's some models in there that you didn't use in the original course. So why not do a mini version of that? So the first version I did, I created something called, one of my perceptions when I began as working as a coach, sorry, I'm jumping around here. One of the initial perceptions I had as a new coach was that in the summer, things kind of tail off, they drop off. Nobody coaches, nobody wants to book coaching in the summer. Of course, that's my own, kind of personal limiting belief. As a child, we have, weeks of holidays from school, but as an adult, most of us work through summer, except for if we're lucky enough to have a holiday. And so I think that mindset of summer holidays, we take through our adult life. So I created something called Summer School. So it was my online program. It was the outtakes where it was a 4-week summer school. Because sometimes if you want to catch up on your lessons at school, you do summer school. Now, I never did summer school as a kid because I wanted my holidays, but I just used the outtakes to create this kind of mini course to do summer school. And then there was a few more because I added some more content to it just to freshen it up. And there was some more content that I didn't then use that became a 7-day course. So basically like a mini challenge. So these were 10-minute videos that went out each morning over 7 days. So these are all online courses. And then of course you can do all of the above that I've mentioned. You can do live versions of them. You can do live programs. You can do live challenges. You can do live summer school. It's still an online course. If you run the courses on Zoom or Teams or Meet or whatever different kind of video platforms you use, you can record that, and that can become the basis of a course as well going forwards.
That's fantastic. I mean, based on your sort of inspiration years ago, and actually, as you know, we had a couple of conversations about it. I created one for children managing big feelings. It was Tame Your Monster Feelings, long time ago, prior to the pandemic. And it was, interestingly, that completely blew up in the pandemic, and it was doing okay beforehand, but gosh, in the pandemic it just went absolutely wild. So it's just sort of and again, that was four weeks, different topic, all around managing big feelings. And they had little challenges at the end for them to practice some of the tools that sort of I'd shared. But what I've sort of shared and what you've sort of shared, because you've sort of shared what your niche is, there may be people listening today that are thinking, well, that's all very well, and you're established coaches. What if I don't even know what my niche is then? How can I build an online course if I don't even sort of know what my niche is?
Start with that. Find your thing. Find your thing. It could be a personal development coaching course.
So just general courses, just general coaching. Yeah.
Find your ideal career, your best career. Step into the future you coaching course. It could be something so generic. What you need to do while you're running it is listen to the comments, because the comments, the people that are doing this, whether it's a free course or a paid for course, those comments, they're the gold dust. They'll tell you what's going on for them. Your role as the coach is to listen and then to implement that in the future. The very first thing I did, how I developed my first course, it's called Speak Like a Pro Online. And I began a Facebook group. And if you just remind me, Sharon, how much does it cost to start a Facebook group?
Gosh, that must be free, right?
Yay! win every time. Yeah. So I began a Facebook group, and I'm not very good at titles, so I call it Speak Like a Pro Online Facebook group, longest title in the world. And I just let people know, all my Facebook friends and old schoolmates and stuff, I'm starting this Facebook group. If you're interested, join it. And I didn't explain about it. I didn't justify it. I just said it's called Speak Like a Pro Online Facebook group. If you want to join it, here's the link. And I accepted everybody. And so I ran that for about 6 weeks. And each day I either asked a question, shared a poll, shared a TED Talk video about communication or feeling more confident. And I was just looking at what people were commenting on, what questions they were asking, if they were liking something, if something that I shared just had no response at all, in which case, okay, maybe I'm geeky about it, but it doesn't resonate with anybody else. And I was just noticing what other people were talking about. And for the most part, they gave me ideas that I wouldn't have had myself. And then the next step was to kind of run that beta program. So these are people that are involved in a group. It's like a group coaching program. And just to give you an example, there was one call, and I just mentioned, and it's the beginning of the call, a bit like you did at the beginning of this call, where you setting people at ease and asking how they are, and we had a poll and stuff. And I was asking these 8 people, so what they've been up to that day, and I said, that I had been recording a video that day for my YouTube blog, and I needed to edit it, and then I said, but of course nobody would be interested in that, and the group lit up. One of them said, actually, Mike, yes, I would. And then somebody else said, yeah, same as her. And then somebody else said, and so everybody was saying, we would be really interested in how to edit a short YouTube video. And I thought, this is the most boring thing in the world. Seriously, who wants to watch somebody edit a YouTube video? So anyway, long story short, I shared the screen. And I edited this mini video, and I'm not a very good editor. I'm not a designer or anything. It's just my version of editing a mini video. And of all the beta calls we had over those 8 weeks, that was the one that lit up the most. And so that was something I never would have included in my program, but of course it got included in the program because this is something that I was just listening to the folks, listening at what they wanted from it rather than what I thought they wanted from it.
And there's a lot of learnings there, isn't there? We might go in with a fantastic idea, but if if it's just something that we think that people want, and we're not staying curious, we're not keeping that coaching curiosity mindset, then we might miss, and you potentially would have missed that real sort of nugget of, you know, what was really key to that particular program. And the other thing really that sort of is coming through sort of loud and strong is there isn't really one way to do anything. And you sort of mentioned Facebook groups and sort of starting sort of a mini Facebook group and inviting people in, and, you know, sort of like developing that sort of community and moving on from there. And you've also mentioned about Zoom and using sort of Zoom recordings and things. But is there a specific platform that people would need to use, or, you know, what sort of program, what platform do you use, Mike?
Um, um, uh, I suppose Kajabi is the one I use. It's not the only kid on the block, by the way. There are many platforms similar to Kajabi, and it's kind of a whole singing, dancing platform. So you can have your website, your newsletter, your mailing list, your blogs, online courses, and, you know, all that, things like podcasts, etc. on it. It's the whole 9 yards. But that's something that I started working with about 2015, so about 9 years ago. And it's really useful. The investment is quite a lot. It's about £1,000 a year. But what that enables me to do is to run a business from that one platform. The versions I used before that were things like WordPress with various plugins, Facebook groups I mentioned, LinkedIn Live. I mentioned Zoom, but there is the free version of Zoom. Just keep your calls at 40 minutes. There's also Skype. Who remembers Skype? There's FaceTime, which just used to be for Apple users, and now anybody can, you know, as long as you send them a link, they can take part in group calls on Facebook. So there are lots of ways to do this, where you don't have to spend £1,000 a year to create your online course. And the first online course a friend of mine did, he recorded it on his iPhone, and I'm using my iPhone now. I use that for my camera. I don't have a big posh fancy whatever it is camera. I use my iPhone because it's you know, these smartphones are, you know, the cameras there are just incredible. And the first online course he had, he sold it on PayPal. So everybody knows how to use PayPal, and you can set up schedules, so people can pay monthly or they can pay upfront, whatever works. It's all automated, and then they send people a link, and this link was to his private Facebook group, and he had his modules on units in the Facebook group, which you can schedule. So the first unit would go live 1 week, and then the next week, the next video will go live, or equally, you could just upload them real time each week. So he actually created and delivered his first program just using Facebook, which, just remind me again, Sharon, how much is Facebook groups?
Facebook is free.
So it's all profit for him. Talk about building up that residual income. So wow. So yeah, I mean, there are, you know, as you build your business, as you become more established, as you create your email list and online courses, you can pay for different kind of platforms, and that can mean that everything is kind of under the same bonnet. But before that, there are so many ways you can do it. Yeah, it's just, I think one of the best bits of advice I was given was start with what you have. Don't think I have to buy all those fancy lights and mics. I have to get a big posh expensive camera and you know, learn how to edit, and because we're putting all these barriers in place. Some of the most successful people I've met years ago, I was part of this group, this kind of training group, and a big selection of people, some of them really, really established, really successful, and me, who was right at the very beginning. And some of these people, they were so successful, it was just ridiculous. And the videos were grainy, they weren't edited. just everything that I thought you should do, they weren't doing. And they were just so successful because at the end of the day, people buy people before they buy products, services, and fancy cameras. And people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And it's about building that rapport factor. And so these were just basically being real. Now, as you progress and as you become more established and experienced, of course, you might want to geek out on some, other equipments, but you really don't have to. As I say, I'm using my iPhone for this. I use it for recording all my videos, and because the most, I think the most useful camera you've got is probably the one that you've got in your pocket, because you're more likely to use it, and that's your fun.
And that's such great advice, Mike. There's so much there to take away, because you're absolutely right. It's very easy for our little inner chatter to put all of these barriers in the way. We look at maybe what other people are doing, and we're not necessarily seeing that they use their own smartphone to create that, or that they used free Zoom and recorded the sessions. So, that's so important to know that you don't need lots of expensive equipment. Just get started. And that approach using beta, which again, expand on, I'm not going to make an assumption, expand on what beta means in case anyone here doesn't really know. Okay, so what does beta mean?
It's kind of like a pre-sale. So before a company maybe launches a new phone or a new software or a new product, they maybe find a group of people that want to test it out, and so it gives them an opportunity to see what part of it works and if there are any kinks or things need changing or improving before they do the official launch. So a beta group is where you collect a size of people together, kind of group. And the way I did it, I was really upfront. I'm saying, I want to create this beta group. This only 8 people, because for me it's a magic number. More than 8 is too many, and I get it starts to feel more like a training session rather than a group coaching. And less than 8, I can work with less than 8, but for me, I just wanted to. It's a nice number that I like. So I said, this is going to be, I'm going to share loads of tools and tricks and ideas and models and frameworks and blah, blah, blah with you that I picked up over 20 years in showbiz and training and all this stuff. And so you're going to get loads of value from this. What I'm going to get from it is noticing what lands and what maybe doesn't land, maybe with a good intention falls flat, and equally maybe sometimes that you asked for that I didn't think would work, and it just explodes, in which case, wow. And so this is going to be a learning for both of us. So I was really upfront. This is going to be kind of a mini program, an 8-week program, and so that's what it was. And I part of the beta group, part of the testing out, the pre-launch, was that I wanted to test out whether the idea had financial legs. So I didn't offer it for free. The Facebook group that I did before that was for free. When I offered the the initial program, the beta program, I said this is for a nominal fee. So I didn't want to say it's like for £7 or £1, because I know sometimes people do that, and that's for a reason, to build a mailing list. I get that, it works. But I wanted to test if this had financial legs. So it needed to be more than that, so that people would, it would give me an indication whether people would be interested in it enough to invest in it. So mine was £97 per month over 3 months. So just a few pounds short of £300. So it wasn't something that most people would just kind of disregard. It was something that they did want to bang for the buck. They wanted a return on that investment. So I really did have to show up. So the people that did join this beta group were really invested in getting as much value as I possibly could from it. And from those people, I knew that I could learn what they needed or notice what they needed as well. Does that make sense? So that's kind of it. So it was a pre-launch.
Fantastic. So when we talk about beta, we're very transparent in letting people know that it's a pre-launch, or it's something that you are inviting people along to maybe trial out for you, but in return, they're going to maybe get it a slightly reduced rate, so pre-sale
Yeah.
rate before it sort of
Yeah.
goes public. And I know for myself, when I did my sort of beta, in return, I also asked them to give me some sort of feedback around, what they enjoyed, what was helpful, what landed
Yeah.
well and what didn't land well, which really helps you, doesn't it, to
Yeah.
to tweak things going forward.
And also they can record things like video testimonials if they want to as well, which you can use for promotion in the future when you launch the program. And it's really important to kind of emphasize, I wasn't asking for people who wanted to basically be maybe to test things out, to be a kind of guinea pig. Who wants to be a guinea pig? I did actually say, this is the real deal. You're going to get, real value coaching here. It's going to be small group coaching. You're going to get masses from this. I've done this for all these years, etc. And I really want to work with you. So this wasn't a try before you buy, test it out, just see if it works or not. They knew they were going to get some really good coaching from this as well. So it is important, because £97, it doesn't sound a lot, but actually, I'm from a council house in Lincolnshire, £97, it's a lot of money for most people.
Yeah.
And so you do need to add value. And sometimes people ask, well, how much should I sell my course for? And it's not necessarily a rule of thumb, but something I heard years ago is that if you can, in your mind's eye, think the value you're offering in your coach is roughly 10 times more than you're charging for it, then probably you found the right number. Now, I don't know whether it is 10 times or 7 times or 16 times. I have no idea. Who cares? But the point is, you're adding more value than what you're actually selling it for.
Oh, fantastic. There's just so much there. And for anyone, I know there are lots of questions coming in. And if anyone wants to really deep dive with Mike, then he is going to be delivering a masterclass. Well, I should say workshop, because masterclass gives more of an interpretation of presentation. But this is a real sort of hands-on, come and design your course with me type of workshop. 3.5 hours, I think it is, on the 13th of July. Catherine, do pop the link in the chat box. So if you're interested in really learning in real time from Mike, he's going to be sharing his 7-step approach. He's going to be sharing with you how successful course creators test and validate their ideas. There's going to be just so much there. Then do consider coming along. I learned so much from Mike, still much more to learn, because I'm taking more in today as well. So it's going to be stuff on pricing. There's going to be a whole sort of range of things. Mike, we haven't even had a chance to scratch below the surface, really, because I wanted to chat to you about, sort of low cost or no cost ways of getting started. But maybe we could finish in the final 5 minutes of maybe you sort of sharing maybe 3 top tips for someone just starting out, regardless of whether they're a seasoned coach or whether they're a coach in training. What would be your 3 top tips for, right, okay, I'm going to do it this time? What would you say?
I think the most important one is to begin. It's the start. Otherwise, you'll have the best course that maybe was never launched, in which case it's not been useful for you, and it's not added a value for anybody. So just begin. One of my clients many years ago over in Australia used to have this term. He said he just wanted to launch things before they were ready. He just said, so let's get down and dirty. Sorry, my accent. Let's get down and dirty. Let's get rough and ready. He had these brilliant phrases. What he means is, it doesn't have to be shiny and sparkly and perfect. Just do it. Just do it. I'm not counting how many tips these are. Be willing to fail. One tip that I heard from one coach, possibly Brian Tracy, I'm not sure. it could have been Brian Tracy years ago, was one of the things that really sets an exceptional coach apart from all the other coaches is that an exceptional coach will ask the question that other coaches might be too fearful to ask, because it might be the wrong question. It might fall kind of dead on the floor. But an exceptional coach will be brave or to step into that. So when you're thinking of starting a course, just do it, go live. If nobody shows up, if nobody shows up on the Facebook Live, just do it anyway, because keep doing it. Eventually people will show up. And then I think the final one, I'm not counting these, is something I mentioned earlier. Just start with what you already have, whether that's FaceTime or Skype or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams or Zoom or whatever it is, PayPal, Stripe. It really doesn't matter. Just start with something you already have, because when you've begun that, eventually it's going to start to build, and that's when you might add something, another, maybe a light or a mic or a platform, and get somebody to edit a video or something. I don't get anybody to edit my videos. I do them all because I still like kind of geeking out a little bit on that. But yeah, just begin the journey, because when you are beginning the journey and you find your flow, you find that other people want to be in your flow as well. People resonate with people that are genuinely doing what they're meant to be doing, what they're supposed to be doing. That's really attractive. It's magnetic. So yeah, it doesn't have to be so sparkly and perfect. Just begin. Just begin.
Fantastic. Certainly when I just began, I mean, gosh, if I look back to some of the things I did in the beginning, holding the camera or having it on a tripod, that you just learn as you go. And it is so important just to get started, isn't it? So wonderful. Yeah. Oh, Mike, it's been a pleasure. It's always lovely hanging out with you. And it's always, such rich takeaways. I hope that lots of you have been inspired to really think about considering this, because in today's world, it is so important to be thinking about how we can, sort of offer different things to our clients. Maybe they've worked with us and they want more, or maybe they want to dip their toe in the water before they invest maybe in that sort of premium one-to-one coaching. And so an online course or an online coaching course might be that way forward. So as I say, if you're considering that, start where you are, and join Mike on the 13th of July and find out more.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be fantastic. I would love to know, before everyone disappears, what's your one key takeaway from today? Because knowing is not enough. We must do. So what is it that you're going to be doing? What key takeaway is for you? Please do write that down. Maybe share it in the chat as well. There's lots of just start finding your flow, which is lovely. Just get started, get a beta group. So there's lots there. Progress, not perfection. Have the courage, be willing to start, willing to fail, just go for it. Oh, there's so much there. Well done. Thank you so much. Join me next month on the 9th of July when I'll be sort of building on this today, really, around your business, where we'll be focusing on really creating your sort of standout website with the web designer Liz Ellery. But from me, from Mike, from Catherine and the whole team here at the Coaching Academy, thank you for joining me again today. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. But from me, take care. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.